Hello! Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Ask the Aesthetic Mentor. I am Dr. Russo. Thank you all for joining. Interesting evening tonight. Lots of Sparaza. That's like Sparaza Med Spa, a good friend of ours from our cadaver class yesterday, which I think was one of our best ever. We had just such a great group of nurses, and we had a great couple great cadaver heads that we were dissecting. It just showed really nice anatomy, and it was just a wonderful day. I think everybody just learned so much, and one of the sort of real hesitations for a lot of the students coming in was that they didn't really feel confident with doing fillers, and they just heard so many sort of horror stories. And one of our stated goals as a school was to make everybody feel better at the end of the day about injecting fillers particularly, but neurotoxins also, because there's a lot of stuff with neurotoxins that no one really talks about. In fact, there are many more complications with neurotoxins than there are with fillers. But the stated goal of the cadaver class yesterday, and it's my favorite class to teach because it just lets me kind of go free range on everything. Best class ever. Thank you very much. Was that we wanted everyone to feel more comfortable at the end of the class. We just went around the room and said, what do you think? What was the strong points for you? And everybody, for the most part, felt that they're just much more comfortable because they had a sense now, at least a sense of where to inject, but probably even more importantly, where not to inject, where the danger zones are, and how to avoid those areas. So I think we succeeded in creating some more confident, competent injectors, because it's really all about keeping us safe, right? As an institution, as an aesthetic space, as a practice person, as a patient, right? We all want that. But I want to start off tonight by wishing all of our, because this is still officially National Nurses Week, so I want to wish all of our nurses a really wonderful Nurses Week, and congratulations. You guys have worked really hard, and this is a really hard industry to break into and become successful. Most people fail, unfortunately, but there is a path to success, and if you follow us, we will help you on that path. But one of the biggest stumbling blocks for many nurses has been the compliance piece. And pretty much, hey Brittany, good to see you again. Long time no see. It's been at least an hour or two. So one of the biggest stumbling blocks for most nurses is the compliance piece. And the compliance piece I'm talking about is when a nurse treats a patient without an order from a duly authorized prescriber. In our state, it's a nurse practitioner or an MD. In some cases, you can add PA to that list. They are they're practicing medicine without a license. Happy Nurses Week to all the wonderful nurses. So when you start practicing medicine without a license, you lose your license if someone reports it. And it's really not defensible. And if there is a doctor involved that's letting you do that, they're liable too. So unfortunately, I just came to be aware of this just before we came on the air tonight, that it happened to another nurse who had a problem, and when they looked at the medical record, there was no order from a duly authorized prescriber, so there's really no defense in that case. It's negligence per se, and probably goes right to damages, and they probably lose their license for a while. So listen, let's celebrate National Nurses Week. Let's do it the right way. Let's be compliant. Our network has a real-time cloud-based EHR. We do everything via basically telemedicine, which is legal in every state. Everyone gets real-time orders. That's patient-specific, time-specific, date-specific, dose-specific, route-specific, like you're standing next to the nurse. So, if you're out there and you kind of have this queasy feeling in your stomach because you're not doing it the right way, don't risk your license. Don't get this far and fall off the cliff because you haven't been compliant. So please do. Enough said about that. Nurses are awesome, and we want to protect them because they're a very valuable commodity in this world. Couple of other things that have happened this week, because we're going to talk about business tonight, like how to start a business, how to stay in business, how to retain patients, how to terminate people, how to attract good patients, all that sort of stuff. And MK, who just signed on, was kind of the thought police behind that. But a couple kind of disturbing things happened. One was a post on social media that was talking about someone who got injected in their lower eyelid tear trough cheek area, and a day or two later ended up with like this swollen area, kind of here, And they said they had no pain, and they said the capillary refill was normal. And then they whipped out their ultrasound device, which I think is a royal scam, but more on that later. And saw product below the skin, which is where it should be, and made a diagnosis of a VO, an obstruction, a vascular obstruction or occlusion. So we probably handled 50 or 60 occlusions at this point in time, and we've never, not once ever, had an occlusion that wasn't painful. Unless the person's already dead. I mean, that's the only way. Secondly, how could capillary refill be normal if you have vascular occlusion? By definition, if vasculature is obstructed, you either have a really decreased capillary refill time, which is like venous, or really delayed capillary refill time, which is arterial. And if it's arterial, you know immediately. It's not a day or two later. And if it's venous, you know later that night or a few hours later, sometimes you know right away. So if there's no pain and there's no change in the capillary refill, how can you say you're having an occlusion? You can't. It's impossible. Because if you do have an occlusion, what's the endpoint that you treat to? Normalization of capillary refill. But if it's already normal, what's your target? If you're also trying to make the patient more comfortable, the patient's not having any pain, what's your endpoint? So this person used quite a few vials of hyaluronidase to dissolve what they thought was an occlusion. Well, I'm thinking most of you probably know, in this area, the most likely result of adding too much filler or adding a filler that's very hydrophilic is lymphatic outflow obstruction, right? You've obstructed the lymphatics, and it can be a persistent, chronic, really serious problem, but if you dissolve it, pretty quickly it goes away. So unfortunately, this person didn't really even understand what the hallmarks, because, a vascular occlusion is a clinical diagnosis. You don't need an ultrasound to tell you anything, do you? And when you're trying to treat the vascular occlusion, if you have one, you don't try to get your needle into the artery and push the product more distally, maybe into the eye. You would never want to do that. So why would you ever need an ultrasound in this case, right? It's a clinical diagnosis. Delayed capillary refill, really, really rapid capillary refill, patients in pain. You start to see the classic symptoms on the face of ischemia, mottling, all the stuff we talked about forever and ever and ever. And then you have an endpoint that you treat to with normalization of the refill. Patient feels more comfortable. You start to see a reduction in those symptoms. But the skin doesn't really look good right away. It doesn't get better in a second. It takes time, depending upon the degree of injury that you're dealing with, right? If it's been obstructed for hours or days, you have a really long road to go to get back to normal. But if you hit it right away, obviously, it doesn't take as long. But it doesn't look great right away. And you have to understand the endpoint is capillary refill and pain, not like it looking like it did before you injected it. So unfortunately, this is misinformation, right? And I'm sure the person who was doing it was trying to be helpful, was trying to contribute to the knowledge base in aesthetic medicine. But unfortunately, and the reason I found out about it, I don't follow this person, I don't even remember the person's name, but I feel my network members and nurses sent this to me and asked me to comment on it because it went against everything I taught them. And I was like, yeah. And they said, well, you should respond to this person. And I will. I'm just letting myself calm down a little bit. I don't want to be nasty. I just want to be factual. Say, listen, you honestly have no idea what you're talking about in a nice way. I don't know how to really say it any nicer right now because I'm a little charged up. But the point is, you're putting disinformation out there, and I don't know whether you're a shill for ultrasound devices, or you're making money from them, or you don't understand what they do, or why. I don't know. But this industry is filled with people trying to sell people stuff that doesn't work, that doesn't make sense. And, listen, after being in medicine for, over 30 years, and particularly in this industry, people will sell you anything that they can make you buy. And most of the time it doesn't work. Almost all new things don't work. It takes a while before the technology really catches up and makes it work. And people get so excited. Oh my God, did you see? Yeah, but it probably doesn't work. And what's the point of that? And most of the time they have these technologies, and I think ultrasound's one of them, that's searching for an application. Like, I have this device, but now what do I do with it? And maybe I can. Don't waste your time, honestly. Anyway, I'm tired of talking about that. Hello, Greta. Good evening. I'm so caught up in this. I'm sorry that I'm just ranting and raving a little bit, but it's so important. I just hate to see stuff on the internet, and particularly social media, that's just not at all, right, even close to being right. And it gives everybody like pause. Like, am I doing this the wrong way? No, you guys are doing it the right way. Stuff like this that you see is just awful. Second, I'm still on my soapbox, so give me a little license here. Then we'll talk about business, and you guys can chirp in and give me your thoughts. But we had a network meeting, and one of the big filler companies brought in a big name injector, NP, and it was like a week or two ago, and it was really not good. I've been saying all along that a lot of these big name, Instagram stars, for whatever reason, I guess feel compelled to show everyone how smart and how good they are. But this particular person really did the opposite, really turned most of the people off, because she was talking about stuff that, was at a very high level, but I think she made a lot of it up. And she was talking about how she lies to patients and tells them one thing, but really the other thing's true, and how she doesn't charge for consultations and charges $10 a unit for Botox, and how she does 15 or 20 syringes at a time. I mean, this is crazy stuff. And I don't want to say anything bad about anybody, but I just have to sort of wonder about the accuracy and truthfulness of this thing. And I didn't say a word, but many of the members of my network came up to me and said, "What was that? Like, that really wasn't good." And she's not even talking about things that make sense, and the things she's talking about, lying and false, misleading patients, doesn't make any sense, and it was just not good. So I kind of swallowed that, and I was like, you know what, and we talked to the company and said, look, this really wasn't the right kind of person, it wasn't the right thing. And then all of a sudden today, the members of my network are getting emails from this person, and she's soliciting my network people who've been working with me for many years to go to her school. I run a school, we run a school, we work in a school, but she's soliciting my members to go to her school. How did she get their email addresses? How did she know who to contact? What gave this person the idea that they could do this? Like, to come into my house and shit all over my network. Like, I was so upset about it. I'm like, who are these people? Like, how do you do that? I don't know. I would never. So, be careful. Just because someone has a lot of followers on Instagram or somewhere in the world, don't take what they say for face value. Really test it. Does it make sense to you? Is this person talking about something that you know about? Does it make sense to you? Is it sort of consistent with everything you've been taught? Or is this person way out there and trying to impress you with how much he or she knows? Because when we started cadaver class yesterday, I said to the students, this is not like any class you've probably ever taken before, any lecture, anything you've been to, because I'm not going to tell you anything about myself. I'm not going to tell you what I do, or how much surgery I do, or how many injections I do, or what products. I'm not going to tell you anything about me, because it doesn't matter to you. What you want to know is how to get better. What you want to know is anatomy that makes you a better injector. I'm not going to tell you about anatomy that I know just to tell you how much I know. If it doesn't help you, I'm just going to tell you what you need to know to make you a better injector, because that's what you're paying for, right? But most of these places you go and these guys are talking about stuff at such a super crazy high level, they're not even trying to teach you anything. They don't really care about teaching you anything. They care about how many more Instagram followers they've got, how many more social media moments can we create, can you stand in front of the sign with me and smile? Unfortunately, that's what it's reduced to. So I said, none of that. None of that. I'm not going to tell you a single thing. And even if you ask me, I'm not going to answer the question because it doesn't matter to you. What matters to you is where not to inject, where to inject, where the arteries are, where the anatomy. So we had a really great day. It was kind of funny. Followers can be bought. Yeah, you're actually absolutely right. They can be bought, and they can make people. Somehow social media has become the new measuring, the number of followers on social media has become the measuring stick of how good you are as an injector, as someone in the aesthetic space. I mean, it has probably the least bearing on reality and truth, because most of the people who really care about it don't really care about the number of followers. They're out there just trying to help people and kind of spread the knowledge and sort of debunk some of the things that we see out there. So, I thank you for agreeing with me. I mean, I hate being in this position. I hate saying this stuff, but we got to keep it real, folks. We got to just be honest about it. Not everyone's amazing. Not everyone's great. A lot of people just put gimmicky shit up there so they get a lot of followers and people actually believe what they say, but they're making it up, right? So you have to really be careful. And when all these new things come around, just really be careful. Really test them out. Make sure they work. Have other people that have used them tell you about it, because the devices can be a huge trap. We should probably have a separate show on that. Anyway, let's get down to tonight's topic, which is, again, Happy Nurses Week to all of you wonderful nurses, and stay compliant and make sure you have orders before you treat. That's why people love learning from you, doctors who tell the truth. Why would I do anything else? Right? We're committed to making the network better, the industry better, all of our students and followers better. If I don't tell the truth, I'm going to make them worse, right? I'm going to hurt them. I'm going to hurt patients. I'm going to hurt outcomes. I'm going to hurt the industry. Just keep it real. I mean, just be honest. People can tell when you're full of shit, and it's a disservice, right, to yourself and to all of those around you. Because when people find out the truth, they'll be like, we're not going to follow her anymore. We're not going to do this anymore. So, questions about business. Hello, Kate, the NP, the newlywed. How's married life? And thank you to the Dash Queens for helping us out with every day without risking our license. Yeah, providing them with real-time orders. They're trying to be... They don't want to be me. That's too funny. That's too funny. Well, they say imitation is the best form of flattery, right? Like if someone tries to... And then I actually had two people, I don't know who they are, file complaints against me with the Board of Registration of Medicine, but they made the mistake of signing the names of people who are in my network, who work with me, who have very close relationships with me. And when the Board of Registration of Medicine, marriage is great. Happy to see that. Yes, I'm happy to chat with you anytime. And when they called the person, like this is one of the things just happened 2 weeks ago. And they called the person and said, we want to talk to you about the complaint you filed against Dr. Russo. She said, what? What are we talking about? She said, well, you sent a letter into the board, and we're talking to you about the complaint you filed against Dr. Russo. She said, I didn't file a complaint against Dr. Russo. He's he's our mentor, blah, 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 all this stuff, right? And this had happened, a little bit before that as well. So the nurse, the person who was calling her, I eventually just dismissed it because it's like a fake claim. There's not a real person who would admit to signing it. She said, are there people who have it out for Dr. Russo? And I said, you should have said to her, yeah, there's a very long line. You got to start way back there because, when you become successful or you tell the truth and you just don't, just tell it like it is, people don't like that. People don't like that. They don't want to hear that, and they want to copy you and compete against you and do all this stuff. Fine. Like, bring it. Who cares? Like, all I can control is what I do. All I can control is what I tell you. And all I can do is try to tell the truth. And that's all I can do. If people want to do other things, hey, it's their life. They can live it any way they want. But you know what? This is a very, very, very small community, and everyone knows what everyone else is doing. And when people aren't good, people find out very fast, and it's not a good thing. So let me finally get back to what we were going to talk about. First question. About running a... See, the problem for most of us, me included, is we go and spend all this time training in medicine, right? Nursing, nurse practitioner, MD, PA, all that stuff. And no one ever teaches us about business. No one ever tells us how to start a business. No one ever tells us how to run a business. No one ever tells us how to spend our money in marketing, how to hire and fire, and about all this stuff. So unfortunately, we have to sort of figure it out ourselves and learn from the school of hard knocks. And we make mistakes. So hopefully tonight we can talk a little bit about that. Question number one was, where do you spend your money on marketing? Well, the best marketing you could ever do is to create good outcomes. Because good outcomes sell you, right? Good outcomes sell other patients on the before and after that you just took of that other amazing result you had. So unfortunately, you have to be on social media. Unfortunately, you have to spend money on social media. But if you're going to be on social media, put before and after results. Put like your best results. Put stuff in there that people look and go, wow, like that really made a difference for that person. I think I want that, or I know someone else who can, that's really number one. And you can do Google AdWords. I think that is fruitful. They're expensive, but you have to figure out what's your ROI, your return on your investment. Like how much are you spending versus how much are you getting from that investment? And you got to be able to sort of, thank you. Yes, it is true. I speak the truth. Also, when you do boost these ads and you see the before and after stuff on Facebook or whatever, embellish, tell people what you've done. Tell people, how many syringes you've used or what neurotoxin, whatever it is. Be open, be transparent, right? I don't know that there are lots of ways to spend money, but I would say invest in yourself, your practice, make it look great, do great before and after work, and reward your patients with good outcomes. Because there's no better referral than a self-referral from another patient. So the best way to market yourself is to be good, to get knowledge, to figure out how to listen to your patients, to get good results, and then market those results in whatever way you want. Before and after photos, pictures on, Hall of Fame, results on your walls, marketing with, before and afters on Facebook or whatever you like. I'm trying to stay away from most of those things, but you have to do some of it just to be relevant and just to be in the conversation, just to let people know you're still living on Earth and you haven't traveled to another planet. So unfortunately, it's a necessary evil. So invest in yourself, in your education, and in your results. And if you get good results, I guarantee you'll have more patients than you need. There's so many, invest in your education. Patients love to know that you continuously take classes and provide them with the best. Yeah, they want to know there was someone who knows what they're doing and continues to educate themselves and tries to get the best results. But when you are getting good results, play with it. Show people, demonstrate it, put it online, put it in even print stuff. People tend to still look at print stuff a little bit. So I think that's good. Another question that came through is, how do you find good patients? That's an important question, I think. Number one, don't bottom feed, right? Don't do Groupon, which is stock. I looked at it the other day. It went from 400 at one point. It's down to either 12 or 14 now. What does that tell you? That's not a good thing. Living Social, all these things. You don't want to be a discounter, right? So because patients that you don't want, hello, Dr. Joyce Mara, do you think you get more results from organic clients? Yeah. I don't know which you get more from, but I think they're both important. Boosting's important because it says trying to show people, hey, look what I can do. Like, this is it. When you have pre-existing patients and you have good results in those patients, you don't even have to tell them. They always tell their friends, and their friends always ask them about it. And if you give them a little referral, give them a $50 facial, or give them something for referring a patient, make them feel special, you'll get it times 10. So the two of them kind of go together, but neither one of those things happen without good results and good outcomes, right? So if you're getting good outcomes, you can leverage it either way you want. So you really have to invest in yourself and your education, and you have to try your very hardest to be good. And you will. You will. So don't be a discounter, because what that tells people is that you're really not worth the full price, that your results, yourself, your outcomes aren't going to be worth it, so you have to discount them. You don't want that, because that will attract bottom feeders. I contact masters and I can't find guidelines and standing orders. There's a nursing advisory that was revised 2019-20. It talks about how standing orders are not appropriate. They can't be used. They have to be real-time orders, patient-specific, date-specific, time-specific, dose-specific, route-specific, everything-specific. Standing orders are no longer reasonable in Massachusetts. This is Massachusetts. particularly in using telemedicine. So you can find those in, I can't remember the number, but it's a nursing advisory that was initially put out in 2016 that was revised a couple years ago, and it makes it very clear that standing orders are not appropriate. If you're using them, you could potentially get into big trouble. So don't, please. You know what? If I write, I'll write it down. I'll try to remember to tell you what exact advisory is, so I can give you accurate information. Dr. Lin, what facial machines do you recommend? The hardest part I find is marketing, social media. I'm so thankful for the education you guys provide. I don't know. What do you mean by facial machines? What do you want to do with the machines? I mean, they're microneedling devices, they're ultrasound, there's radio frequency, there's lasers. Tell me what you want to do, and I'll tell you what kind of machines work for you. Medical aesthetics on Shaman. Good. Please stop. Don't discount, right? Don't be the lowest person on the block, because you'll get patients that come to you because you're the cheapest. They'll go to the next person who cuts it'll be a race to the bottom. They'll leave you and go to the next person who's cheaper. There's no loyalty. You'll waste your money on anything you spend on marketing with that group. So don't, right? So what do? Have a consultation fee. You've earned it. You deserve it. What about when a regular client asks, what is your net discount on filler? Because, we don't discount filler. We'll give you discounts for multiple syringes. The more syringes you buy or use, the lower the price. But the first filler, the first syringe, there's no discount. The second, there's a little. The third, there's a little more. On up. You don't need to. You don't need to, because what it tells people is you're not worth it, right? So people always say, well, how much should I charge for Botox or whatever the thing? And I said, charge whatever you're worth, right? Because the more you charge, the more patients expect. If you're the most expensive neurotoxin or filler or whatever in town, people expect that you're going to give them the best results. And if you can't, problem. If you can't, big problem, right? You don't want to sort of overpromise and underdeliver. So you probably, based upon where you are in your history in this industry, if you're just starting out, you have to charge less than most people because you have less experience than most people. As you get more experience and go to more courses and get more experience with patients, you raise your prices, right? And when you think you're really good, you charge a lot more because you want the people who want that, right? But if you can't meet their expectations, you're creating a problem. So charge what you're worth. And if you don't know what you're worth, ask other people at the same level as to what they're charging. You want to keep the client. So you'll keep the client. How do you keep the client? By giving a good outcome at a fair price, right? That matches your skill set. So, and also, it really depends on where you are, what the socioeconomic dynamics are in your area. Are you living in an inner city Detroit, or are you living in Miami Beach? Big difference in price and expectations. So, don't cut yourself short and charge what you're worth. And if you aren't sure, ask other people around you. Have a consultation fee, right? If people aren't ready to pay a consultation fee to see you, then they're probably not the kind of patient that you want, right? So we're talking about how do you get good patients. Provide good outcomes at a fair price. Treat them well. Listen to what they have to say. Don't make them listen to what you think they need. Listen to what they have to say and then react to that, right? Educate them, right? People love to be educated. Most people do. Let me just explain to you why this filler is the one I use, or this I won't use, or why wouldn't I use that device, or what, spend money on your office. Make it look good. Make it comfortable for your patients. Good patients understand that, right? And they leave your office feeling good and getting a good result. They'll always come back. And at a fair price, they'll always come back. Patients really don't care about much, but what they really care about is how you make them feel and what the outcome is. They don't even care that much about price if they have a great outcome. If they have to spend an extra $50 or $75 or $100 to see you versus someone else, but they get a better result every day of the week and twice on Sunday. No questions. So focus on your results. How do you retain patients? I'm going to keep saying the same thing over and over again. Good outcomes. If you're creating good outcomes for patients, they'll keep coming. They'll keep coming because sometimes they go to other people and then they come back and say, I'm really sorry. I went to somewhere else and this wasn't good. Hope you're not upset. No, I'm not upset. It's a free country. You can do what you want, but I'm glad you understand the value I provide for you. I'm glad you came back. I'm not upset. Maybe it just means that you actually value me more now because you went to other places and it wasn't as good. So it's okay. Be kind. There's so many patients out there. So many more patients than all of us could even ever handle, and it gets bigger every day. So don't worry about that stuff. It'll take care of itself. So good outcomes, number one. Number two, price fairly. We just talked about that, right? Just price at obviously you're in business to make a profit. You're not here to lose money. You want to make profits. Don't gouge people. Be honest. Be fair. There's plenty of money to be made. Not worrying. Treat patients with respect, particularly for their time. Don't make them wait very long. Don't overschedule yourself. Put extra time in that you don't think you're even going to use, and believe me, you'll fill it with talking to patients. Spend the time listening to them. Spend the time responding to what they just said, and actually answer their question, not what you want to say. It's hard, I know. Maybe it sounds crazy saying this, but follow up with your patients because many people don't. Call them that night. Hey, how are things going? Is everything okay with that filler that we did today? Any problems? Blah, blah, blah. Call me back. Send them communications. Send them emails. Let them know the latest thing you're doing. Send them an email of a really great before and after. Communicate with them. Let them know you're alive, you're caring about them, and you want to continue this relationship. It's simple stuff. It's not complicated, but it's really, really important. And retention saves you a lot of money on marketing, because if you don't have to keep paying to get those patients over and over again, you can actually charge less because you're making more, right? You're not spending all that money, because people who don't have good retention, and it can be measured, the companies can measure it for you, they have to spend a lot of money marketing to get new patients in because they can't keep them. But if you have high retention, you don't really have to spend much money at all on marketing because you've got all these patients who want to keep seeing you. You don't have a lot of room in your schedule for new patients. So that's a really good situation to be in. What are the hallmarks of a good practice? How do you maintain and create a good practice? I think the number one most important thing is hire good people and pay them well. People that love other people, people that you like to be around, people that other people like to be around, people that when you hear them on the phone, you're like, boy, what a great phone manner they have. And when your patients come in the office, they get greeted quickly in a positive way, even if the person's on the phone, and they feel like they're in a good, safe, comfortable place. So it's all about, number one, making them feel good. Make sure your office is clean, modern, and comfortable. What your office looks like says a lot about you. And if nothing matches and there's holes in the furniture and stuff, people think, well, if they don't even take care and the plants are dead and nothing matches, if they don't even care about their own appearance, how are they really going to care about mine? Are we capable of making it better? Like, this is a nightmare. I don't know if I should be here. You don't want that. So invest in yourself, which means investing in your office and your office space, and make sure you get a designer to help you if you don't know. And it'll be the best money you've ever spent, because when people come in, they go, oh my God, this is a great office. Like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. They want to come back. Don't you? Yeah, Brittany is great. Great. All right, Jules, talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in. Spend extra time listening to them. Get to know them as a person, so when they come in next time, you can ask them about their kids or which college they're at or what sport they're doing or whatever it is. People like to be connected and feel like you actually care enough to continue to be connected with them and remember what they have done, and you can write it in the chart if you need to. Another question about terminating people. How do you terminate people? Hire Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's the Terminator, so he's the guy. He's the go-to guy here. No. Dicey. I learned a lot about this the hard way. You have to keep records of all of your employees. And that has to include any kind of missteps on the part of the employees. It has to include verbal warnings. It has to include written warnings. They should all be in the chart. It has to include you taking action when you've issued a verbal warning, whatever, depending upon what the situation is. It has to come up with a plan to make things better. And it has to all be documented. And you need to have regular reviews with the employee at least once a year, if not more, to, again, document the things that are good, the things that aren't so good, and what the plan is to improve the things that aren't so good. And then the follow-up is, did that happen? So when you have to fire the person, if it comes to that, you've got a clearly documented case for whatever the situation is. And you can do it. In most states, you can fire someone without cause, but many times they try to sue you because, wrongful termination make up like any reason you want to. And unfortunately, most of the judges, at least in our state, are very, very receptive to, the employees over the employer. So, you need a pretty strong case, which means just document everything. Firing patients. Do it early and do it often. Hello, InMode. Hello, InMode Austin. So, trust your gut on this. Once you've been in practice long enough, if you run across someone who you, for whatever reason, you just don't like, or you feel like they're going to be a problem in the practice, or they mistreated your front desk staff, or you just have a feeling that they're so miserable you'll never make them happy, cut your losses right there, right? So we have a code in the office. So usually when patients come in, yes, we replays on Thursday, so you can watch this whole thing over again and hear me, going on and on about this for as long as you want. They're always posted on my Instagram at The Aesthetic Mentor, and they stay up forever, so you can do it. Firing patients. So usually when we see a patient, we talk about whatever we need to talk about, and then I step out of the room and I let my front desk person come in, Angelina, and she gives them a quote. She sits down and explains the quote, and then if they want a book or whatever, she deals with that. If we run across a patient that we don't really want to work with for whatever reason, I look at my nurse and she looks at me and we're just like, we say, "Oh, okay, Mrs. Jones, you can get dressed and you can head out now. We're going to just send you the quote in the mail just because, we don't want to hold you up at all, and, we're going to take a little time to get it together for you," which means you're never going to get a quote from us and we're never going to work with you. Hey, Dr. Tur just joined. This is a rare pleasure. Good to talk with you, my friend. Good to see you again. And we're looking forward to getting some laser stuff from you. So I'm just wrapping it up, Dave, but we do post these every Thursday. And they stay up on our Instagram forever. So if you're ever bored and can't sleep well at night, just tune into this and it'll put you right to sleep. You'll be really happy. So we say, we'll just mail it to you, and of course we never do. And after a day or two, if the patient calls, she says something like, Dr. Russo's been just really reviewing the case, and he just feels like, you guys aren't really a great match. He doesn't really feel like he can make you comfortable. And come up with a great result for you. So he thinks you should just get other opinions and kind of talk to a few other docs, but he's not going to be able to work with you on this one. And just be nice about it. But honestly, I know when you're getting started, you really worry about losing patients, and I made that mistake too. Like I would just try to help everybody, even though like sometimes it was beyond my capabilities, and I had people that were impossible to make happy, and it was like every time you saw their name on the schedule, everybody in the office would just cringe and go, "Oh, Jesus, no, not again." And then you see like 2 or 3 of them on the same day, and you're just like, "I don't even want to stay at work anymore. I just want to go home," And that happens, and over and over again, and you just are always on the defensive. So if you can and have the strength to get ahead of that, it really is helpful. Just say, "Look, I just don't think this is gonna, it's a good combination. This is not good chemistry. It's just not going to work, but I wish you luck and I hope things work out for you. See ya." Sometimes that's really doing the kindest thing for the patient, because if it's not going to be a good relationship. In the back of our office, we have a list of all the things, like if patients display any of these behaviors, we won't operate on them. It's kind of a little bit of an inside joke because some people do really weird things in the consultations. We had this one patient that I'll just talk about real quickly, who said, I want you to like fix my abdomen. And I was like, let me take a look. I was like, your abdomen looks fine. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Can't you see all this loose skin? I'm like, no, not at all. She probably weighed 95 pounds. Like, there was no fat on her. She goes, yeah, really? You want to see something? So she gets it down on the floor in a plank. She's like, can't you see it? I go, she goes, how can you see it? You need to get on the floor. So I had to get on the floor on all fours and look up like this while she's in the plank to see the little bit of loose skin that she was talking about. We'll send you the quote in the mail. It'll be there in a few days. I gotta run. Thanks. Bye. So that's the kind of stuff, we just make jokes about it, but it's all true stuff. Sometimes, truth is stranger than you could ever imagine. So be mindful of all of these things. And other than that, the fact that you can be a really great injector, but sometimes have trouble with business because, sometimes the greatest injectors just can't run a business. And sometimes you have people that aren't so good who are great at business. And most of us are sort of in between and we kind of learn as we go. It's on the job learning. But anyway, I said all I have to say tonight. Great, happy, wonderful Nurses Week to all of you amazing nurses. Stay compliant. Look back at the beginning of this if you missed it because I did talk a lot about that. And I'll see you next Tuesday. I'm not sure the topic yet, but I'm sure it'll be interesting. And if you have trouble sleeping, just tune in again. All right. See you guys next week. Bye.